It's about Paul
How'd you get
George.
this dirty picture of him.
And look, I understand.
Could look worse.
I understand that both of you have this ongoing feud. You're a Paul George fan, and Andrew
Paul George's
over
a hater.
here, even before the show, bickering back and forth about how good Paul George is. So I'll let you guys steal the spotlight on this segment right here. And the question is Paul George disrespected as a player because of his recent playoff struggles?
I'll go first.
Okay. Go ahead.
Obviously. Like, that's a no-brainer to that. Of course he's been criticized as a player because of his recent struggles in the playoffs. Just like James Harden has been criticized for his struggles in the playoffs. We know how great James Harden is. But, of course, it comes back to what has he done in the playoffs? You're supposed to be this all-time great player. Why aren't you getting it done in the playoffs? Paul George has had decent teams going into the playoffs multiple times. OKC, he had Russ. He goes, leaves, doesn't think that that's a good idea. Goes to the Clippers, has Kawhi Leonard after he came off one of the most historic runs a player's had in NBA history. Goes and wins a championship with Toronto. Pieces out, goes to the Clippers, wants to compete for the crown in LA. Paul George forces his way out of OKC. Same thing like Durant, leaving Russell by himself. So you think that he thought that he was upgrading for sure. He definitely should be in a better position to succeed when he's got a player as efficient as Kawhi, both ends of the court. He goes ghost. Not only did he go ghost against the Nuggets, the season before that against the Blazers, he got embarrassed. And then not only before that, against Utah, he got embarrassed by Joe Ingles. And it's funny because he does it to himself, where he even has an interview where he calls himself, "Wait till you see playoff P." He put that pressure on himself, knowing that, listen, no disrespect to anyone that has mental issues. He's come out, he said that, he really struggles with anxiety, and I can relate to that 100%. I get that. You put all this pressure on yourself. I am playoff P. That's a strong nickname. So you're going to be surprised when people come in and call you way off P? When you're hitting the side of the backboard, when you're up 3-1, you blow a 3-1 lead to an inferior Nuggets team. You're supposed to be a better scorer than Kawhi Leonard. 100%, I think Paul George should be 100% the best scorer on the Clippers if they want to win a championship. So, of course, he's getting criticized because of his recent playoff struggle. That's obvious. He's been amazing this regular season, but who cares until he does something in the playoffs? God, Riv.
I think it's unfair. I think people jump on Twitter and just wait for him to fail to talk about him. I think this run that he's having should definitely be, and I'm not saying it deserves the highest praise from guys like Steph Curry, praising him, or James Harden, because those are guys, MVP caliber players, guys that have won MVPs, made deep runs consistently. I'm not asking for that, but he's playing well. Give him his due credit. This year he's shown, even when he's talking to the reporters and he's talking to the interview, he's shown the matureness. He's shown the fact that he's locked in for real. He's shown the improvement in his game. He's been his efficiency is off the charts right now. His playmaking has improved. He's definitely looked like a different player. And listen, I'm not gonna sit here and act like he doesn't come in and talk about playoff P, or he comes in and talk about that was a bad shot. Yes, he said some stupid things when he talks, but I think people forget that Paul George is a top 10, top 15 talent in the NBA. He's one of the most skilled players in the NBA. He's one of the best two-way players in the NBA. And when he gets it going, he can definitely put on a show. And I think people forget, people like to have revisionist history, and people forget, Joe Ingles shitted on him, but people forget that he broke an OKC record for having the most threes in the first two games. He had 30 in back-to-back games at home. And he wasn't the only one that played trash. Russ Westbrook at one point got outplayed by Ricky Rubio. People talk about Portland. He came in, he could barely put his arms up. Still came in, had the guard CJ, guard Dame, and put on an offensive show because Russ Westbrook was playing like trash. Last year in the bubble, I cannot give you a proper excuse for why he played like shit. Dallas, he didn't show up. Denver, he didn't show up. He did blow the 3-1 lead. But I think when people talk about Paul George, they talk about him like he's some scrub, and I think that's kind of disrespectful because he's shown the ability to be one of the best players in the NBA.
So just to name some of these playoff moments, Game 4, 2017 playoffs, first round, Cavs versus Pacers. Game 4, closeout game, shot 5 for 21. Then when he didn't get the last shot, he blamed C.J. Miles for not passing it to him and not getting the last shot.
Let's also say they were up 26 one game in that series.
It was the game
lost.
you're talking about.
That was game 3.
Game 6 against Utah, 2018 playoffs. He had 5 points in 43 minutes of action.
That is horrible. That's terrible.
Dude, come on.
When he has bad games, he has bad games.
Then
Like,
game
historically
5,
bad.
Then game 5, OKC. He got sent home in the first round. OKC did it on that Dame Lillard buzzer beater. But let's be fair, PG had 36 that game and shot 14 for 20. So his great performance that game got overshadowed because of the shot and what he said after.
I was going to say the exact same thing. All he had to do was stay humble. He had a good game. Listen, we got beat. Dame hit an amazing shot. That's it.
I mean, this year
It's a bad shot.
he said at the All-Star break.
It took him 2 years to come out and realize, yeah, I was wrong.
Maturity.
And then the Nuggets series this past year and the Mavs series this past year, he played bad in both of them. But we do forget about how good he's been in the playoffs before, going toe-to-toe with LeBron, Game 7, ECF, even though he played bad in Game 7 as well that year. But, I mean, Paul George, I think he does get a little bit disrespected as a player. There are some people who think Bradley Beal is better than him, which is crazy to say.
I can't agree with that.
I don't agree with that.
But I think he has been disrespected as a player. But like you said, he does put some of that on himself by saying that he's going to show up and perform. And that's why you see these nicknames of Way Off P,
George Paul,
Pandemic P, George Paul.
George Paul is crazy.
Way Off P is mad rude. That is one of the rudest nicknames I've ever heard.
Listen, I think we're in store for a very special treat this year. That's
Keep your faith, bro.
Listen, you see what he's been on. Like, he's on straight focus. He goes in, and even when Devin Booker and them was trying to get him riled up, he's like, he's not hearing none of the noise. He's locked in, and we locked in.
Yeah, let's wait till playoff time. Like I said, listen, I'll give him his flowers. He's been amazing this season.
No,
you say the Clippers are WCF bound.
I'm not gonna say they're finals bound. If I had to put money, I would put money on the Lakers, but I think the Clippers can beat them. But they are WCF bound. I think the Clippers are without a doubt WCF bound.
I just don't see a team beating the Lakers.
That's because you're a LeBron lover.
I mean, I'm a LeBron lover, but I'm also a realist.
We have a better 10-man roster than you guys.
We
don't?
I mean,
10. We can go 10, 12 deep. And with Terrence Mann now, we can go. Come on, bro.
Dennis Schroeder's a dog.
Pat Bev will lock
Kuz is
him.
a dog.
You just said Kuz was whack pre-show.
I said that he is not as good as people say he is. He's been playing very good while
Marcus
LeBron's
Morris
been
is better
out.
than Kuzma.
I'm gonna disagree. KCP is a dog.
What the?
KCP gets buckets when we need him to.
Joel, stop the show.
Bro, KCP gets buckets when we need him to. I'm not saying that
he's not bad.
Dude, come
he's
on.
He's a dog?
I don't know about
Okay,
that.
all right. Sue me for saying dog. Dude is very good at basketball.
He's all right.
Montrezl Harrell. It's just like, did we forget that he's on the Lakers too?
We also forget you. It's funny how you love to talk about Paul George, but forget he's also another guy who played really bad last year in the bubble. He played horrible. He was unplayable at one moment.
But when you have your best scorer playing like trash too,
hey, say both of them. Because Kawhi played like trash.
Kawhi actually he showed up. There were games where
Kawhi played trash one game.
Yeah, literally one game, and it cost
It
him
matters. Game 7.
And what did playoff? What did he do?
Don't start. New mindset.
Now, so then let's forget about Montrezl Harrell.
So in this series, WCF Clippers versus the Lakers, you got the Clippers.
Lakers
no
in
doubt.
6.
You say you'd put your money on the Lakers, but who do you have though?
Bias Riv would say Clippers in 7. Real fan, I would say Lakers in 7.
I just don't see a series
7.
where LeBron goes 7 and loses against Kawhi.
That's why
for
I just
the
said.
crown
I
of the
just
city.
said
You
real
said Clippers in 7. Bias Riv.
Bias Riv. What's bias me? I
But
said
that's what I'm saying.
real fan. Lakers in 7. I don't think nobody
Okay.
beats LeBron in 7.
I agree. Fair enough.